Chapter 4. The Light Keep. The world around me dimmed and faded into an eerie silence, a deathly sort of quiet. Everything seemed warped for just a second, as if the very fabric of time and space was desynchronizing. I felt a distinct transformation in myself as well. Felt myself folding into that other world. Then I opened my eyes into the blinding light. Am I dead?
Ah, my child! At last you're awake. You were asleep for a very long time. We were rather beginning to think you didn't want to wake up. How do you feel?
Well, I think I looked at my hands and everything seemed normal. I had no sword this time, and I was dressed in white undergarments. Where am I?
In the Temple of Light, on the outskirts of the Citadel. When you had that outburst in the marketplace, you were placed under my care. My name is Skyael, and I am the caretaker of lost souls.
Well, thank you for your care then, Skyael. I have to go.
Go? Go where?
I'm sorry, I really can't explain, but I must leave now.
Wait!
I can't, I said with a shake of my head, then ambled to my feet and attempted to run toward the exit. I was blinded by the lights, dazed by everything. I couldn't quite control her, couldn't quite connect with the character, and when I stepped forward, I slipped again. Damn it!
Stop now!
Skyael commanded, approaching me. No, it's all right, really, it's just... It's been a while since I first played the game, and it's been a while since the first time I played, and...
Played? Whatever do you mean?
Oh, not played. No, I mean since I walked here. Yes, that is what I meant to say. Since I walked here, good sir, your reverence, I just need to get used to walking again.
Good. You had me quite concerned for a moment. Walk carefully and try not to slip again.
I won't. I'm fine, really. I just needed to understand the walking. It's all one step at a time, I said, and took a big breath. Come on, Melinda, you've done this before, and you can do it again. I took one more step slowly, only to stumble once again. Shit! In a blur of clumsiness, I completely lost control of my character. My legs flailed every which way, knocking into the churchly ornaments and bumping the other priests who were meandering about the cathedral.
Why, she's gone mad!
One yelled when I caused him to tumble to the floor.
Perhaps we need to exorcise her! Stop!
Skyael yelled again, angrily this time. He made a beeline towards me, but I eventually managed to crawl toward what appeared to be a dais. I rested there, my breathing labored from my failed attempts.
My child,
Skyael said as he neared the dais, his voice counseling now instead of commanding. Please, I begged, holding my hand up. I know this looks bad, but I need to do this myself. I know I can.
If you insist.
Then took a step back, but dared not move too far away. They all stood and watched as I gave myself a pep talk in my head. Become your character, Melinda. You're not yourself here. Those words echoed in my mind, and slowly, but surely, as a faint beam of light shone upon me, I stood. I looked around, up and down, left and right, and the gravitas of that world began to sink in. I felt something odd, a connection. I lifted my limbs, then let them fall. Arms? Check. I completed a few footfalls forward, then backward. Legs and feet. Yes. Finally, I was in full control again. Several priests had gathered around the dais and were whispering and pointing, staring at me with questioning, curious glares.
What is your name?
Perhaps it was because one of the holy ones called me mad, but a name flashed through my mind, and I blurted, I'm Madrien.
And why are you here, Madrien?
To fulfill a quest. Someone very dear to me is lost in your world. I have come to find her.
What is her name, this dear one?
Isabella. All the clergymen in the cathedral silenced their murmuring and lowered their heads in respect. So you know of whom I speak, I beg to know.
Indeed. Isabella was the greatest warrior in the kingdom, a hero of our time. Her demise in the Dark Lands still weighs heavily on the hearts of us all.
Her demise? So she's dead?
Yes.
How do you know?
We hear it in the whispers of the wind, feel it in the earth beneath our feet. Our world darkened upon her perishing. She is no longer part of it.
Do you know what happened to her?
No, no one in the Light Keep knows what fate befell her either.
Then this is what I must do. This is why I'm here. I must find out what happened to her.
By whose directive?
By my own.
Your own, Madrien?
Yes. My dreams and visions implored me to seek the truth. They told me of her presence here. This is why I must go now, why I cannot wait.
You have always been free to leave, my child.
You won't stand in my way?
No. Though I suggest you rest for a while longer, recover your strength. We have food and...
No, I cannot wait.
In that case, go on your own way then. May the light of angels watch over your steps.
Everything fell into full focus at that moment. The priests, the cathedral, and most importantly, the fucking exit. I sprinted down from the altar and ran madly toward it, then burst through and continued into the vast landscape. I looked to and fro, investigating every nook and cranny, examining every tree and boulder that surrounded me. I had to find that place, that elusive X. Occasionally I removed the VR unit from my head, just long enough to revisit the hand-drawn sketch in Josh's journal, trying to locate all the points of interest to pinpoint the exact place. No, not that crooked tree, and not that mossy rock. I guess it could be that tree over there. But the stone doesn't match. Am I going in circles? Ugh! The trees and the stones, bushes and landmarks seemed to move, appearing in strange and different places than those marked on his map. But I kept going, kept looking. I had to continue my quest, even if it took forever. Finally, I found a place that fell in perfect alignment with the geographical markings on Josh's sketch. Certain that I was in the right area, I began to dig with my bare hands, removing patches of soil little by little. I could feel the tingle of the earth in my hands every time I removed a patch. Even if it takes all night, I would dig on and on. I had to find it. I can't say how long it's been, possibly hours. The hole was getting so deep. I kept digging frantically until something metallic glistened dimly from under my fingers, and for a moment stopped me as I looked at it, only to set me up again with a new burst of energy. I dug around it deep enough that I could drag it out, then tugged it loose with what little power I had left. I was glad to see that there was no lock on it, and my heart raced as I lifted the lid. Inside, nestled in a bed of cushioning velvet, was a long sword, its golden hilt adorned with angel-winged crossguard. It glimmered gloriously in the dim light of the remaining sun. It was far more impressive than the one I started with, even superior to all the swords I'd seen in the market. There was also a set of armor, a beautifully flowing design of metal and leather, fabric and straps, with a beautiful red cloak, far more extravagant than the crude leather armor I had in the beginning. The third and final item was a large, intricately decorated shield, embellished with gold. When I lifted the shield out, I found a fourth item, a scroll, sealed with wax impression. I carefully broke the seal and read, "To whomever finds these items, I know who you are. We have never met here, but our spirits have met before, in some form or another. Know that you are very dear to me, and you have proven your iron will by coming this far. You now possess my legendary items, my sword, my armor, and my shield. These are the essence of my legacy. Wearing them will make you part of it, for they will serve as a link to me and my past. Whatever bond we had before, it is now 1,000 times stronger. You are an integral part of my being, a remnant of my living soul, my guardian angel beyond the grave. Carry my light to the end of darkness. Yours in life and death, Isabella the Red." Chills rippled through my entire body as I felt a connection with my son beyond his mortal life. I fastened the armor around my body, strap by strap, and it fit me perfectly. When I lifted the sword and shield, I felt like Josh's spirit was with me, emboldening me, making me feel so much stronger. Everything seemed to just fit perfectly. With new resolve, I eyed the light keep, glimmering faintly in the horizon. my next destination. Without another thought to hesitate upon, I descended from the mountain and made my way toward it. I walked back to the same place I first woke up at, under that large oak tree, except it didn't seem as green as I remembered it. Maybe my brightness settings are off, I wondered. There was no market this time, no stalls, and not even a remnant other than a few rotten apples scattered about. As soon as I crossed the bridge into the citadel, I looked down at the moat, which seemed shallower, almost dry. When I stepped into the courtyard, those who saw me could not avert their gaze. I could feel some sort of tension in the air, and I heard the buzzing of whispers. A bard who was strumming his lute suddenly hit a wrong note when he saw me, and stopped playing altogether, and stood up in disbelief. Some men removed their helmets with shock and awe painted on their faces. They looked at me seemingly without moving a muscle, as though I had revived a ghost. The bard was the first to approach me.
You have her armor, her sword and shield. I've written ballads about those very items. Good gods, who are you? Wherever did you find it?
I don't know how to answer that. I stood still and said nothing. An armored woman was next to the man who questioned me.
What in the name of gods and angels?
Observing me from top to bottom. Then she turned her attention behind her and yelled over her shoulder.
Captain,
she called.
Bransen, call the captain.
She commanded the young militiaman near her.
Yes, m'lady,
saluted the militiaman and ran off. I stood still as more and more of them gathered around me, and within a matter of moments, I'd drawn the attention of everyone in the citadel. They looked at me with interest, then glanced to their friends beside them, as though looking for someone to give them answers to what they were seeing.
It cannot be, said
the militiawoman, shaking her head.
The sword, that shield, they must be hers.
What is the meaning of this?
Asked a tall, bearded, battle-hardened-looking man, wearing a stern expression, when he pushed his way through the crowd and removed his helmet for a closer look, or out of respect, if not a little of both.
By the gods! Where did you get those items? Did you find her body?
No, these things were gifted to me, I answered honestly.
Gifted, you say?
He frowned, and the crowd around him wrinkled their brows in confusion. Yes, he gawked at me in disbelief.
Do not lie to us. Did you pilfer them from her dead body?
No.
Tell us the truth, and you shall be spared a harsh punishment.
I am telling you the truth. She left them for me to find. These are my items now.
A spy from the Darklands, this one is,
suggested someone in the crowd.
Or a witch.
I'm not a spy, nor a witch.
Out of my way,
yelled a gruff voice. Some people suddenly started turning their heads away from me and to the origin of that voice.
Out of my way! Move!
An extremely large individual with a slightly greenish complexion, jutting jaw and prominent teeth, pushed his way through the crowd closer to me. Out of sheer fear, I drew my sword and held it out toward him.
Use her not, Isabella,
he said with a snort, madness brewing in his eyes. He turned his glare back at me, lifted his halberd as if he might use it, then bowled.
Shows us your true form, devil!
He rushed closer to me to swing his weapon. I slipped back just in time as the loud metallic sound of two blades colliding echoed through the citadel, his swing parried by that of a militiaman.
Get back, Barudark, said
Bransen, somehow pushing the large man back with his own sword.
Look at how she's holding sword,
snorted Barudark.
She can barely lift it. Unworthy!
He was right about the sword. I barely managed to hold it with one hand, so I had to use two. I just had to defend myself somehow in the face of this intimidating individual.
She's no fighter. She's thief, or she's witch. Tell us what you know. Where is her body?
He glared at me, with his chest puffing from labored breathing. Bransen held him back at sword point, while another militiaman grabbed him from behind. He was just that big and menacing, even to them. That's what I'm trying to find out, I yelled back. If you care so much for Isabella, then where were you when she died? His eyes widened, and in that second his tough exterior seemed to crack. In fact, all of you! Where were all of you? I turned my attention to the rest of the crowd. You didn't even know what happened to her. You admired her, didn't you? Even loved her, worshipped her? You would have been willing to defend her with your lives, it seems, yet none of you were there to help her in her final moments. Some of the people in the circle lowered their heads, taken aback. The gravity of that statement laid heavily in their hearts. Some of the people in the circle lowered their heads, taken aback, as the gravity of that statement laid heavily in their hearts. You can't even tell me how she died, can you? Did you try to look for her? Did you try to find her? No, you wouldn't, would you? None of you would risk your life going to where she had gone to the very edges of darkness. But I would, and I will, I said, jabbing the sword into the ground. I couldn't help but notice that when the sword hit the earth, it created a slight, almost indiscernible ripple in the ground for a split second. One I could feel with my legs, even if no one else seemed to have noticed it. Captain Baden looked solemnly and sternly at me.
I know not who you are or from whence you come, but you will answer to the steward of the citadel. He will decide your fate, as well as the fate of that which you bear with you into our citadel.
These items are mine, I said, refusing to let them have my one connection to Josh. As soon as I spotted an opening in the crowd, I bolted, running as fast as my character's legs would carry me.
Stop!
Yelled Baden. I ran every which way to wherever I saw an open path. Through all the cobblestone houses and towers looked the same. The militiamen were all after me, those men in armors. When I saw a breach in the wall, I hurried through it, out of the citadel and into the forest. I ran through the trees until I reached a clearing. Am I going too far with this? I just want answers. But I couldn't let them take those treasures away. I couldn't let them take Josh's gifts. What if they killed me right here? Would it really be worth it if my character dies? I wasn't sure if I was getting exhausted or if my character was, but I had to stop. I looked back. They were closer than I thought. Even if you got within a few lunges away, they had caught up with me, surrounded me from all sides. The sword at my side began to glow faintly, as if it harbored some hidden magic. Is there magic in it? I wondered. It's a fantasy world, after all. I wasn't sure what compelled me to do it, but as the militia came on to me, I rammed the blade into the ground as hard as I could.
As Madrien was surrounded by the militiamen, a blue aura formed around her, energy created by the sword. When it made contact with the earth below, its power rippled out majestically and exploded through her, knocking everyone around her off their feet.
A blue light blinded me for a moment when I finally dared to open my eyes again. The grass that was there, where I was standing, wasn't there anymore. There was just bare ground. I appeared to have blown everyone away from me. They all fell back from the blast. Some were quickly scrambling to get back up, but many couldn't. They were hurt, bleeding. It almost felt like I hurt someone for real. Did I? The guilt I felt was powerful, as if I did. I just don't know what happened to her, I said, falling to my knees. I don't want to fight. Don't want to run anymore. Please, please just stop chasing me, I begged, breaking down in tears and shudders. Captain Baden looked at his men sullenly and gestured for them to stay in place. He slowly and carefully paced toward me.
We all loved Isabella, and so did the steward. She was personally very dear to me. If it is your quest to find her, my lady, if you speak the truth, you are not alone in your goal. We all greatly desire to know the truth about her disappearance, even if you think otherwise. First and foremost, however, we must maintain law and order in the citadel. As such, our steward, Lord Roald, always has the final say. Therefore, your fate is to stand before him.
On Baden's command, the men took my sword and shield from either side of me. Then they grabbed me and led me into the interior of the citadel, inside the keep, where I was to face the steward. The steward occupied a huge throne in a great wide hall. He was a rough-hewn-looking individual, much like many of the militiamen, but older, with a frizzly gray beard. His expression was very solemn and grim, as he looked at all the members of the citadel, who had gathered to watch me stand before him.
These are indeed dark times,
said Roald, as Isabella's sword lied in his lap.
Once there were greeneries across the land. The trees were full of leaves and the blueberries full of sweetness. Even elves and dwarves walked among us. But now, the times have changed. The darkness from the west had thickened, looming ever higher and fouler than before. The greatest warrior of our time is gone, and here in these darkest of hours You come wandering into our sanctuary wearing her very armor, brandishing her sword, and prancing about with her shield? How dare you? How you found these items? Speak, woman.
I had visions, my lord, I answered respectfully, flatly.
And these alleged visions guided you to her belongings?
Yes, I believe she chose me.
Did she now? Then why did she not find it pertinent to tell you where to find her or what happened to her? Do you not find it more than a little strange that she chose to give you her items instead?
I find a lot here strange, my lord. I do not understand all ends, but I will not question her decision. All I know is that she chose me. Why you? Many great warriors occupy our fine citadel. Battle?
Why you? Many great warriors occupy our fine citadel. Battle-hardened warriors who fought alongside her in many great wars. Why would she put her faith trust in an unknown newcomer to these lands?
It's not something I can explain. The very reason I am here. All of it is something otherworldly.
Otherworldly?
Yes.
I know of only one world, and it is the one we live and breathe in. A world now consumed by shadows. Whatever world you speak of, we do not wield nor understand magic or the occult within the walls of the Light Keep. Do you? My people think you're either a witch or a thief. Do you know something we don't?
Nothing that I haven't already told you. He paused to scratch his bearded chin, never taking his scrutinizing eyes off of me.
I believe there is more to you than meets the eye.
He continued to stare at me, as if peering into my soul, almost as if he could see me in real life.
What is your name?
Madrien.
And what is your plan, Madrien? Why did you come here?
To find Isabella wherever she is.
And where did you intend to search for her?
In the land of darkness and fire, beyond that dark horizon, where you all fear to go. He laughed, and his chuckles were echoed by those of the crowd around him.
If you insist on that, you will then go to your doom in land where evil never sleeps. Your arrival to this land will be met with a quick demise, if you are fortunate, for a great deal of torture and humiliation await those less fortunate ones. Regardless, you shall die and be forgotten, and your quest will remain unfulfilled. Did your visions not tell you that?
I must do this, with your help or without, Lord of the Citadel. I did not come here to wilt in fear, and I will not allow doubt to linger in my heart forever. I shall go to my doom if I have to, but it is my destiny to seek the answer.
You can go. I will not stop you. But make no mistake about it. None of us shall follow you there, and I deem it to be madness. The armor, shield, and sword are no longer yours. In fact, they never were. What belonged to the dearly departed Isabella henceforth belongs to the citadel she loved and protected. You have our gratitude for returning these things to their rightful owners. Soldiers!
He gestured to the militiamen at my sides.
Remove the armor at once. My lord,
Baden said, bravely stepping forward.
With all due respect, not like this, not here. She's still a lady. Look at your men, Captain. A lady does not do what this one did to your men,
he said, pointing at the ailing casualties before him, some with bandages all over their bodies and others with crutches as they watched the proceedings. Bransen stood still among them, the militiaman who defended me before against my attacker, now with a bandaged forehead and eye.
She deserves no less,
the steward proclaimed. They stripped off my armor in front of everyone, layer by layer, strap by strap, taking away a little part of Josh every time they removed a segment, as though they were ripping off my actual skin. No, I yelled, crying and struggling. But there was nothing I could do to stop them. I stood before them in these meaningless undergarments. All I wanted to do was log out, to leave their stupid fucking game, not having to experience the shame. Maybe Callum was right. Maybe the weakest of characters don't really stand a chance.
So did you log out then?
No, I stayed. I was frustrated, yes, but it didn't feel right to leave. They gave me clothes, food, shelter, actually treated me with genuine kindness. It felt so real. Those characters,
They feel just as real as people in real life, don't they?
Even more so, I said. In the end, I wanted to find a quiet corner away from everyone, so I could log out. But one of the militiamen, the stutterer, I think his name is Bransen, was following me. I thought he was angry at me for injuring him in that explosion, that he was seeking revenge, but instead he just handed me a strange-looking stone. It looked like a strange old artifact, circular graduation marks all over it. Do you know what it is? I actually recognized it from one of Josh's drawings, but he didn't write anything about it. When I touched it, it glowed dimly for a moment. It just disappeared.
Interesting.
What's interesting?
Well, those stone discs, that's a way for players to reward other players for good role-playing. It's a way to say, I thought you were amazing, without needing to actually say it.
He thought I was amazing?
If he gave you the disc, he did. Did he say anything?
No, he just gave it to me and nodded and walked away. When the disc disappeared, I felt like it was affecting me somehow, affecting my whole body.
Well, they are more than mere tokens. They contain power within them that is then transformed into your character. It's likely you gained a bit of strength from it. She must have gained a bit of strength from it. If you receive enough of them, you will get a level up, which means that you'll truly feel the effect of becoming powerful.
That was nice of him. Maybe Bransen had a strong connection with Isabella, I wondered out loud.
You also have a stone disc to give.
I do?
Yes. You haven't looked in your pouch, have you? You should have one there as well. You can only give one, and it can be to any character you choose.
I see. I inhaled deeply. Say, Callum, do you think someone's watching us there? Someone all-powerful and all-seeing?
Nobody knows for sure. But there is speculation that there might be some sort of dungeon masters in the game world. Yes, they are omnipotent and control everything, at least in a traditional sense of the term as used in role-playing fantasy worlds. Still, I don't think they exist in the Haze. This game world is controlled entirely by players, not by dungeon masters or other intruding developers. That's what makes it so special. Players have the ability to build, make, create, and effect change in this game world. The Haze gives you that power. Whatever you can do in real life, you should be able to do in the game world.
So those players, their characters, they actually built the Light Keep by themselves?
Yes. They hacked the stones, collected the resources. They built it from scratch. They also fashioned their own hierarchy, the militia, and code of conduct. They built an entire society, just like if that were a real world.
I sort of felt that. I could feel this world had history, that things were not made out of thin air there. It was actually quite daunting to set foot there, and to see it in the land, even in the eyes of those characters, and how serious they are. I got lost in it. I couldn't believe there are players behind them. Everything and everyone just feels so real.
Are you referring to that moment when your character just shambled along into the Light Keep, wearing all of Isabella's legendary epic items?
I don't find anything funny about it. I shocked them. They couldn't explain it, and I certainly couldn't explain it to them.
I can't explain it either, Melinda. I don't understand Josh's intentions with that map, the items, and the letter. I hope you're not looking to me for answers, because I really don't know what to make of it.
I just wish you could have helped me somehow. Not like you do now, but help me inside the game world.
I told you.
I know. Your character is dead.
Yes. Well, actually...
I heard several hesitant taps like fingers on a table. What? I puffed excitedly. Tell me, I exclaimed, wondering what he was hiding.
My character is alive.
Your character's alive? Why didn't you say so?
Because he's dead to me and I will never play him again. I was an addict, Melinda, as consumed with the game world as your son was. I recognized that it was destroying my life. Every time I closed my eyes, all I saw was the game. I never wanted to leave the house, and when I did, I was shaking all the time, like some kind of alcoholic suffering withdrawal symptoms. I couldn't make conversations or even look people in the eyes, because I was never really here in the real world. I was always so desperate to get back there. Yet in those dull moments in the game world, when no one was around and I had a chance to really stare into my soul, I was beginning to wake up and realize how this has consumed me and my life. That was when I decided to stop and never return.
I fell silent for a bit, pursing my lips. I'm sorry. I didn't know it affected you that badly.
That's okay. Look, maybe I can still help you in some other way.
How?
Well, you need to stop attracting attention to yourself. Become invisible somehow.
You know of a way?
Well, not quite. But I can help you find a way that might make you seem invisible. There used to be a way where certain individuals from Lightkeep could go into the Darklands. A sneaky way that made them blend in. It might even serve you better than Isabella's stuff that will just draw attention to yourself. All you need to do is wear a Blackguard's armor. That is an armor of someone from the Dark Army. You'll blend right in, as long as you don't make too much noise or show how good-natured you truly are.
Got it. How do I get such armor?
Talk to the captain of the militia. If it's anything like the old days, they should have some in stock.
Chapter 5. The Dark Armor. Captain Baden, torch in his hand, led me through a dark corridor, then down a spiral staircase to the dungeon in the Lightkeep's interior.
You know, I am quite surprised you even came up with this idea. It is a practice of the old militia, something I forbade when I was appointed captain. Personally, I think it too dirty and much too risky. When the Dark Army started scrutinizing their own, we lost many good men and women who went in as spies. Make no mistake about it, Madrien. They will not be fooled so easily. They can smell intruders and sniff out those who don't belong. It is by no means a potion of invisibility.
We passed through a larger and dimly lit corridor, to a wall adorned with a massive mosaic, a depiction of the sun shining on a town beneath. Flanking that artistic display were several statues of warriors and knights.
I admire your resolve, Madrien. Yet it bothers me that you seem to have little faith in us, the men and women of the Citadel, and that which we are willing to have done for Isabella. We fought many great battles by her side. For most, it would not have been too much to lay down our lives, if there were any chance to save her. Truly, we would have gone through fire for her. But we cannot walk into the Dark Lands, not for a fool's hope of finding her body. She would never ask such a thing from us.
Was Isabella a part of your army?
A Lightkeeper? No. Isabella answered to no one, yet she was loved by all. She was the greatest warrior in our kingdom, no doubt, and her skills far exceeded any of ours. But it was far more than her swordplay that made her so special. She never faltered with the blade, nor with words. She graced the Lightkeep with her presence often, and she always had the full attention of the steward, as well as mine. Really, everyone's. When she spoke, people listened.
I reeled back at the sound of the chains rattling and a great growling echoing in the corridor. I looked at Baden with question in my eyes.
Barudark,
explained Baden.
the one who attacked you. He claimed he just wanted to see your reaction, to force you to morph back to your true form.
He paused to shake his head.
He really isn't as bad as he seems. He just gets unruly sometimes. Most of the time lately, truth be told.
He paused again, this time to heave a sad sigh and wince.
He wasn't so bad before. Now we often have to remind him of his place.
How long do you mean to keep him like that?
Until after you leave, just to make sure he doesn't follow you or try to track you, which I suspect he will. He has a good heart. Even served in our militia for a while. Barudark is very skilled, a master blacksmith, and he could be an asset to us if he would only behave, for he can forge the best weapons and armor I've seen. Why, he made almost half of the Lightkeep armaments single-handedly, but he seemed to lose interest in that soon after the tidings came of Isabella's death. She was convinced he would make a great soldier, too, despite the fact that he's an orc. Not many in the Citadel look too kindly upon orcs, and even fewer support their service in the Lightkeep, but we gave him a chance at the behest of Isabella. Sure, like all orcs, Barudark has a temper, but he seemed to be able to manage it, and he didn't have trouble taking orders.
What happened? Didn't he make a good soldier, as Isabella predicted?
Of course he did. Maybe the strongest we had. Thanks to him, we were able to expand our sphere of patrols, so we could explore the land even further. He gave us courage to venture to places we never had before. Unfortunately, he became consumed with the notion of finding Isabella, and when we stopped launching search parties, he left the militia to search for her on his own. In fact, he just recently returned from his latest journey with a few injuries, mostly to the head, I'm afraid.
Does he still think I'm a witch?
Who knows? He's quite superstitious and hates witches, probably due to his tribal upbringing. Not only that, but he's been especially dark and brooding since Isabella's death. He even started dressing in his old tribal outfits and talking to himself in orcish tongue, alienating himself from the rest of us and...
Baden stopped suddenly and held up his hand.
We must be quiet now.
We'll be passing by his cell.
As we passed by his cell quietly, I stole a glance through the metal bars of the small window in the door. I couldn't make out much, but I did see the huge, muscular back and long, thick braid that emerged from the back of his head.
He could probably break that door down if he wanted to.
Why doesn't he? I asked.
I'm not sure. Perhaps there's some discipline left in him yet. It gives me hope that after his grief wanes, his discipline and love for the Lightkeep shall prevail, and he shall return to serve us with dignity.
After going down yet another flight of stairs, Baden pushed a door that opened to a dusty old warehouse. He lifted the lid off of a wooden crate. Inside was a crude-looking dark armor. There was a sword there with a large black cloak and a helmet. Constructs made from darkened metal and bones. Some of them still had patches of what appeared to be gore.
It's a bit rusty, but it'll have to do.
I peered down at the items that I recognized from my son's journal. I recalled that they appeared on the early pages, where he captured every detail of all sorts of foul, crude swords, bows, helmets, and armor, designed in such a way that it instilled fear in me, even if they were just pencil-drawn. Little did I know then that I myself would be soon donning these horrific things he'd drawn, the tools of war that struck fear in the hearts of enemies.
Remember, stay in the shadows and keep the helmet on once you leave the safety of the Lightkeep. Be careful and alert at all times. Know that the farther you go from here, the more you risk your life.
With Baden's advice echoing in my mind, I left the main part of the keep and stepped down the stairs to the courtyard of the citadel. With the battered helmet at my side, the Lightkeepers stopped and watched me curiously. They all understood what I was doing, where I was going. They all respectfully stood on the sides, clearing me a path to leave the Lightkeep. It was almost like a ceremony. Kinda like a wedding, just the opposite, an anti-wedding. Instead of going toward the entrance, I headed towards the exit. Instead of wearing white, I was in black. Instead of the life ahead, death was ahead. It was as if I was walking down the aisle of despair to my doom. Suddenly, breaking through the standstill of onlookers, Bransen ripped through the rows of militiamen with great determination and hurried to stand between me and the exit. He was without his bandage now, and a deep scar loomed over his eye from the wound I'd caused him. He drew his sword and spun it around, then jabbed it in the earth and knelt at my feet.
You have my sword, m'lady. I will follow you to the end of darkness.
My eyes widened as I looked at him with wonder. Why? I wanted to know. Don't they all think this is a suicide mission? I just stared at my would-be companion, as speechless as I was moved by his brave offer to accompany me.
Bransen,
interrupted Baden, moving quickly to grab him by his shoulder pad and yank him back to his feet.
Get up, boy.
A female militia member walked over and grabbed him by the other shoulder pad.
Come on,
she said, hauling him away.
Good luck, lady,
she said to me with a sharp nod.
Aye. Good luck, Madrien.
Bransen looked at me helplessly. The sad grimace on his face made it clear how badly he wanted to join me, but he wouldn't dare defy his superiors. As I neared the drawbridge, several men and women of the citadel approached me from both sides. They said nothing, just lightly touched my shoulder and let go. To my surprise, their palms dimly glowed with every touch. It happened because of the stone disc they held. Each touch filled me with a small surge of strength and power. While they didn't say a word, they spoke through the gesture instead. In their eyes I could see they knew it would be the last time they saw me. I left the Lightkeep with the thudding of the gates closing behind me. I was all alone. I found myself staring at that dark storm forming on the horizon, a brutal mass of thunder and lightning. Faint shapes of giant monsters formed in the shadowy haze, as if to warn me of the unknown terror that awaited me in the Darklands. If that's where you are, that's where I will find you, I said to myself. I took a deep breath, put on the black helmet, and marched on.